this is going to be really exciting because I've never interviewed more than one person at a time. So, would you both like to introduce yourselves and a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to
Go
go?
first.
All right, I'll go first. So my name is Lauder. Do you want me to just do job background or just general background?
Whatever you want to who you want to be in the world and known for.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's a big question, isn't it? Yeah, no, so my name's Lauder. Mixed race, half Nigerian, half English. Me and Emke live together. We're living in London, and I currently work for a sports-based employability charity called Street League. So I'm managing the London region at the moment. I absolutely love my job, working with 16 to 24-year-olds and helping them into better outcomes. So into like jobs, apprenticeships, and further educational training.
And hi, I'm Emka. So I'm at the moment I'm kind of close to finishing my PhD in psychology, which I've been doing for quite a few years now. But I do that alongside teaching. So I teach at a university in kind of London, central London, South London, and just trying to support some of the students there from loads of different modules, undergraduate, postgrad. And yeah, I just love teaching. I like seeing the difference from students when they first start off, they're really anxious. And then by the end of the kind of module, they're like telling me what to do. But it's really nice. And yeah, so doing that alongside my PhD at the moment.
And Loda and I met at a sport and sustainability event, and I loved your vibe. We only met after like 2 minutes, and we were like, we've got to switch numbers and make this happen. So I'm really grateful both of you said yes to joining me.
Oh no, thanks for having us.
us.
We're really looking forward to it. Yeah, it was great. We're excited. I'm a bit nervous, but I'm excited.
Well, there's already a difference of personality, so let's just get crack straight in with the first question, which is, what does being strong mean to you?
Okay, well, as soon as I started last time, I'll start again this time. I suppose being strong to me means like having the ability to not only overcome challenges, but also to be resilient and be focused on growth. I do believe that there's like an opportunity to learn from anyone in life, in all aspects of life. And I think to get to a stage in your life where you feel like you've reached your full potential and there's no room to grow, I think that's a mistake. I do feel like there's always room to grow, whether that's like professionally, personally, emotionally, physically, improving your health. There's always different opportunities to grow. And I think strength embodies kind of all of that.
Yeah, I think similarly in the idea of resilience, I think part of being strong to me is knowing that things aren't always going to go perfectly and being ready to kind of face those challenges when they come. But also in terms of being able to stand up for things that you believe in, even if that means kind of maybe sometimes going against a majority or feeling like you're the only person in the room that is saying something or standing up for something. But I think strength is kind of having that within you to say, actually, no, this is something that I need to stand up for and I need to kind of be passionate about, even if that is sometimes going against your own brain sometimes, and like going against your own internal thoughts that sometimes maybe set a little bit against you, and having the strength to say, do you know what, no, like I've worked really hard to get where I am at. I deserve to be here and I'm going to continue kind of working on that and kind of pushing forward.
I'm absolutely loving this 45 strong series because like you two have just given great examples of why, because it's going in so many random and weird directions that it's opening up ideas that I never thought of, and resonance with, oh, that really reminds me of when I did, and also, oh, maybe I need to work on it because I can't see that yet. But yeah, it really resonates what you're sharing about the resilience and working through things even when we know we want to be quiet. So yeah, it's really intriguing. So thanks. And could one of you, well, both of you, share an experience where you've had to be strong and how did you handle it?
Yeah, I'll go first this time. I think obviously, like I said earlier, like I've been doing my PhD for a few years now. There are some massive peaks, but also some massive troughs of doing that. There's so many times where I have myself felt like I'm just not good enough compared to some of the people, like my colleagues who have been in this industry for years and years, or times where I feel like I have to go stand up in front of people and deliver content, like talk about the work that I'm doing. And there's a lot of kind of self-doubt sometimes. And I think that's something that I personally have struggled with quite a lot during my PhD. And it's been probably one of the biggest barriers that I've faced over the last few years, is just that self-doubt and some of that kind of negative self-talk sometimes that comes along with that. And I think part of how I deal with it is sometimes just taking stock of things like achievements, but also just talking to the people around you. I mean, Lauder is one of my biggest champions. So
Thank you.
so when I am feeling quite low, or like I'm, I am struggling or I'm doubting myself, sometimes it's just being able to say, I'm going to turn to somebody and get that bit of boost that I need. And that reminds me of my own strength and my own kind of ability. And it kind of helps push me through some of those harder times. So yes, I think that's probably the biggest that I've kind of gone through recently and how I dealt with it.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing. And again, it's curious because it's sometimes the strength is to actually lean on others, or pass it and go, do you know what, I'm not strong and I'm not going to pretend. Could you be strong for me? So that's really beautiful to hear you found that already with each other.
Thanks. Yeah, I suppose mine is pretty similar to Em's in terms of like the imposter syndrome. Just from like a work perspective, like I am the youngest of 12 operation managers in my organization at the moment. I'm also the only mixed race female in operations management. And there's some people that I manage on my team who are older than me, or have been at my company longer than me, or who have higher educational backgrounds. And sometimes I find it difficult because of that imposter syndrome of feeling like I'm not good enough, or how did I even get into this position? I don't deserve to be here. And I think it's also sometimes about taking an inward look at yourself and like just giving yourself a kick up the bum sometimes and being like, I am like where I'm meant to be. I deserve to be here. I've put in the hard work and I do actually have the ability to do this job. And I think also as well, like sometimes being a mixed race female in a position of management, I felt at times that I've had to censor myself, not coming across too stereotypically aggressive or too emotional in the way that I speak or the way that I communicate with people. And I think the way that I've learned to deal with that is understanding that at times it is difficult, if I'm honest, but the barriers that I face, when you have an inward look at yourself, you can realize that you can do the job, you're meant to be there, and also leaning on people who are similar to you. Like I'm lucky enough to work for an organization right now where there's a lot of females in like my senior management team. I've also recently like joined the EDI forum within my organization, making sure that not only my voice is heard, but the people within my team from different backgrounds, genders, races, ethnicities, and being a spokesperson within my company to try and bring about like the actionable change. Because I feel like you can talk about stuff as much as you want, but unless you actually want to be part of the change and make a positive difference, like those things won't happen. So it's difficult, like I said, at times, but realizing like to take this step and also opening doors for other people who are like you is like super important. So I rambled there a little bit, but
Not at all, not at all. It's really interesting because obviously I've come at this from the filter of being a cisgender white female from a certain background and privilege. So there are intersections that you're talking about, Lorda, that I'm completely ignorant to because I've never even experienced the barriers that you're talking about, or the perceptions or the concerns. So like the next is, and it nicely leads on to the next question. And we could remove the word female or woman and put mixed race, or we could put young, or we could put many things. But how do you think, we'll stay on females and women if that's okay though. How do you think societal expectations about women affect the concept of strength?
Oh, that's a good one. Do you want to go or shall I go for this one?
I'll go.
Okay.
So I think there's a kind of expectation of women to be slightly more quiet or maybe, and I don't want to say submissive, but I think definitely in the past that was an expectation. And I think that's influenced the way that strength is perceived. It's seen as something that's quite masculine or associated with being a man and standing up and making your voice heard. And I think part of the impact that has is that when women embody these qualities, often there are a lot of kind of negative associations that are attached to that. So I mean, I'm very lucky within my industry. It's very female led. Most of my colleagues are women. But I know that, Lauder talking through some of her experiences, but also some other people I know kind of in other industries, when they are standing up for themselves, they're, taking control of a situation, they're labeled as being really bossy or catty or, not kind of strong as a man in that position would be considered. I was thinking that I know maybe not so much anymore, but it used to be very much that there were social expectations about men being the kind of louder voice or the one that kind of stood up for things and making their opinions kind of heard, whereas women were expected to be a little bit more quiet or submissive. And I think that's affected the way that strength is seen, in a sense that strength now sometimes can be very synonymous with being manly or being very masculine, when actually, and often kind of related to being physically strong, whereas actually lots of it relates to being kind of mentally strong. And I was just saying that both of our definitions of strength actually related to being mentally strong or, you know, emotionally strong, rather than having anything to do with physical strength. And I think a lot of that comes from the way that societal expectations of women and how women should behave in the world, but also in settings with men, has influenced the way that we see strength.
Yeah, and I also think like women are expected to behave altruistically, like to just give everything to everyone else and not prioritize themselves. You know, it's that societal expectations of, okay, you become a mother. It's you have the choice of being one or the other. If you're going into work, then women are criticized for not being a maternal figure and not staying at home and looking after their children. On the flip side of it, they decide to stay home and be a homemaker. And then you're criticized for not working and relying on your partner to bring in that income. There's never a balance for women. And I think that also then negatively impacts females' self-worth. And also they don't prioritize themselves. So if they do decide to want to make a career, or again, on the flip side of it, take time off work, it's then seen as they're not doing enough or they're being selfish. So yeah, but I agree with everything you said.
Yeah, and just to sort of share a bit of story about me, I was actually an engineer before leaving engineering, obviously, and I really struggled with that because the only women in the industry in the company I worked for were behind a desk. So it was accounts or sales and marketing, and I was sales and marketing. They overlooked the fact that I had 2 masters in engineering, and so most times at lunch breaks, I'd go onto the shop floor where they would build whatever machinery they were doing, and I'd just be tinkering, just learning about it so I could better sell and better understand. And a director approached me to say, "Little girls shouldn't be on the shop floor. Can you please go back to your desk?" And that's when I realized I could never progress in engineering, not because I didn't have a curiosity, but because I wasn't welcomed. So that's when I left, because of that mindset. And I'm in my 40s, so we're talking about good 20 years ago, but I know that it's still present in a lot of industry and sector, that idea of women are not welcome over in certain areas because our strength isn't perceived as machinery, it's perceived as, you know, just be pretty and sell the thing.
Yeah, and I think even when, you know, sometimes women are showing strength, being quite opinionated or taking control of a situation, often there's a lot of negative associations that are then labeled onto them, which if their male counterpart was to be doing the exact same behavior, actually, you know, he'd be really strong, he'd be a great leader, he'd be somebody worth listening to. But a woman that does that is bossy, or, you know, doesn't know what she's talking about, or is, you know, and all these. And I think it's a complete difference in the way that women and men are perceived when they are being strong. And I think that affects how we see strength as women, but also as a society.
Yeah, I wholly agree. And just to check, Lorda, because again, I'm learning how to manage 2 people at the same time. Would you like to share anything about any misconceptions that you've encountered?
About strength in general. So I think, like, I don't like the misconception that you're either strong or you're not. Like, it's very, some people see it as very black and white, and it's not black and white at all. Like, I generally do believe that everyone's strengths are different in different areas, and what some value as strengths, others may not, and vice versa. I feel like everyone is strong in different areas of their life. And again, the same with Em about like the gender splits as well, in terms of strengths that's seen as stereotypically male strengths. Why can't they be seen as strengths for females as well?
Yeah, I agree with that. And it resonates because again, some days my strength, like even some, like I'm obviously known for my sports, but some days, gosh, you know, even getting out of bed and going for a walk is a big effort. So my strength there would be to go for a 2-mile walk, where the next day I'd be cycling 150 miles. So it does fluctuate in our life as well, what our output is as well in the same topic.
Definitely.
Sure. I think one of the other things that is often a misconception about strength is that strength means just always doing stuff on your own, or always being able to go it alone and never needing help and never needing support, when actually one of the biggest ways that you can show yourself being strong is saying, I don't feel strong right now.
That vulnerability is important.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, it's something that's really lovely in our relationship, is it really ebbs and flows like that. There'll be some times where Lauder is the pillar of strength when I feel like I don't have any, and vice versa. And actually, I feel like together we've managed to come past so many battles and so many barriers that maybe individually it would have been so difficult to actually be able to navigate through. But part of being strong and feeling strong is actually just saying, right now I don't feel strong. I need a bit of support, and having the strength to be able to say I need a bit of support.
Definitely, I agree with that 100%.
So how has your understanding of strength influenced your approach to success and goal setting?
I think once my perception of what being strong changed, then I was able to like become a lot more successful, if I'm honest. Like from quite a young age, I was always one of those people that I used to see crying as a weakness and never really showed my emotions to anyone. And similar to off the back of what Em just said, like being able to actually be vulnerable and sometimes be honest about your limitations, that I am struggling with this, like I need support with this. That to me actually showed that that is a massive way to show strength. Like being able to show that humility is so important. And yeah, I don't know if you want to kind of follow on from that, but
yeah, I mean, I think definitely that idea of being able to know your kind of limitations and seek that support. I think that's again something as part of my development within my PhD. There have been so many occasions where I have to just be very honest and say, I'm not prepared for this in terms of I don't have the skill set as of yet. This is something I still need to develop on. I'm very lucky not just to have Lauder there as my support, but I've got an amazing team of supervisors who have been there to kind of support me in every single step of the way. But I think it's also coming back to my earlier point of sometimes being strong is standing up for yourself against yourself. Sometimes it is just reminding yourself that, you know what, it's okay that you have this limitation or you're not quite there yet and you've still got some place to develop. And that's something that really changed for me in terms of my aspirations, my goals, and kind of really pushing forward and saying, listen, I'm not quite there yet. That's okay. Look how far I've come. If I continue going as I am, I will get there. You know, I deserve to be here because of the work that I've put in. And if I continue putting in that work, I will get to the place that I'm aiming for. And I think that was for me one of the biggest switches over the last couple of years in terms of like my strength and how that's influenced my goal setting.
And I think also understanding that like your setting marginal goals is just as important as like those big like long-term goals as well, like starting with the here and now and then expanding on that. Then you kind of realize that like nothing seems too unattainable. I think again, when I was younger, I used to be like, right, by this age, I'm going to achieve this. I'm going to be earning this amount of money. I'm going to be in this position in life. I'm going to have this big house and this big car. And you put everything into such like a big viewpoint of like, okay, yeah, I'm going to achieve all of this. And then when you get to that age or you get to a certain financial situation, you start putting yourself down because you're like, oh, I'm not where I'm supposed to be, or I wish I was there. But then also realizing that actually no, let me just take a look, let me just stop a minute, breathe, and actually look at where I am in life. And also realizing as well, like to me, to be strong is to like be happy. Like if you're not happy in life, what are you doing? Like you need to realize and understand like what genuinely does make you happy, because I think yes, it's one of you are one of the things that makes me happy. Like, she's edging for a compliment there. Did you see that, Kate?
Totally.
But genuinely though, like being happy in life really helps you to develop on those strengths, because when you start to look at what your values are, what your personality traits are, like who you are as a person, I feel like then you have the capability to grow and to set those goals and to also nurture that strength as well. It becomes a lot easier. It really, really does. Yeah.
For me, I've learned very, very quickly into my sporting career, fear and running away from things can only take me so far, but I'll burn out because I can never run away from them. I have to face them and then look beyond them. So yeah, what you're saying is very resonant to my own personal healing journey rather than sporting career. And from your own experience, do you have a tip or technique for developing and nurturing strength that you'd like to share?
I've mentioned it already, but I think setting like marginal gains, I think is really, really important. Like, even if it is a situation of you having a bad mental health day, okay, what am I going to do today? Get up, shower, eat, get dressed, go out for a walk, get a bit of fresh air. I think a lot of the time with like, particularly with us living in London, we get so overwhelmed by like the stereotypical rat race of what London is, honestly, that you don't stop, again, really cheesy, but to like stop and smell the roses. Like, sometimes goal setting can just be those smaller things to improve on your mental health, because I feel like once you improve on your mental health, everything else around it like develops and it allows you to grow as a person. So for me, starting small and those marginal gains and then expanding on that is really, really important to like nurture strength. So
I think alongside that, it's also being patient with yourself.
yeah,
You know, being strong doesn't mean that everything is going to immediately happen, and you're going to get every single goal immediately. And that partly goes into what you're saying in terms of these small goals. Sometimes it starts with the small steps that you need to take to start building this slowly but surely. And a lot of that is having patience with yourself and giving yourself the grace to, you know, actually learn what you need to learn and take the time to get to that stage. I know it's another cliche, but Rome was not built in a day. You know, it takes time to get to that place. It's something that I've had to learn in myself. You know, when I was younger, my goal was immediately, I had an age which I wanted my PhD by. That age sailed me by. I was like, oh, well, then, I'm a failure. And actually, it's like, well, no, just have a bit of patience, because now actually I'm in the perfect position for myself. I'm managing to balance the teaching, which I love, with my kind of research, which I love. I've had so many opportunities doing it the way that I have, which has taken a little bit longer, that I never would have got before. And I previously had not given myself enough patience and kind of the space to become the person I needed to be in order to be strong enough to deal with any of those kind of changes. So I think alongside setting those small attainable goals, it's just having patience with yourself to get there.
Yeah. And I think just to add on to that, like just understanding that life is not linear. Like, like I even say to like my team and the young people that are on our program, going into a different career or stopping your career and going to study or taking a break out to care for family or just taking a mental health break, like those things aren't negative things. It's always a sideways step. It's never a backward step. And you can change your life, your career, where you want to live, what you want to do at any age in life. And again, that's something which the older that I'm getting, like I'm learning, because it's so crazy when you're younger, you put yourself under so much pressure.
It's like one track
Yeah,
mind.
It really is, like it's a one track mind, and life isn't like that. It's not like it's not one journey for one person. Like life moves in like massive zigzags all over the place, and just stop, enjoy it, and take it for what it is. It's not always going to be easy, but as long as you are growing and understanding like what life means to you and what you generally want to do, I do actually believe that we will all be maybe not the happiest, but definitely happier.
And surrounded yourself with the right people.
Yeah,
people that are, going to be growing with you.
Will nurture you.
Yeah, 100% is so important.
Yeah, whether that's professionally, personally, friends, family, mentors, like people who are just generally interested in people. Like Kate, I love when we met for a coffee and you was telling me all about your life story. Like I literally came home and told Emke, and I was like, I met the most inspirational woman today. I got on your website straight away and I was like, look, here's a journey of Kate's life. Look, she used to be an engineer, and then this is what happened in her marriage, and then this is where she went with her like sporting career. Like I was showing everything, because like you are a perfect example of like everything we're just talking about in terms of life is not linear. You can change and do whatever you want to do and do what makes you happy. And yeah, so thank you obviously for taking the time to sit down and share your life with me, because honestly it was really, really interesting to sit down and catch up. I was very inspired when we had a chat.
Thank you. Likewise as well. And what you're sharing about the crazy is to add to the cliches of your roses, we can't join the dots looking forward. So what we think today is a backward step could be the missing piece of the puzzle that accelerates into something far greater we ever imagined.
100%.
I like circles and I like ending where I started. So what does being strong mean to you?
I think being strong to me means being resilient, but also knowing how to express your feelings, understanding your limitations as well, and knowing that you can confront those difficulties head on. But being strong also means leaning on other people, asking for advice, asking for support, and just realizing that you are strong even at times if you don't feel like it. And what one person's definition of being strong is could be totally different from someone else's. So don't fall into the trap of being strong fits in this square box. Being strong could fit in that triangle box and that circle box and that star box. Like, everyone is different. So yeah, just understanding your limitations and realizing that you are strong, and you can get to where you need to get to yourself, but also with accepting support from those around you.
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, that's pretty much exactly what I was going to say. Just the idea that, you know, you can be strong in so many different ways.
Yeah,
you know, just because you're strong in one way one day, you know, the next day you could be strong in a completely different way. And, you know, that's part of the beautiful thing about being strong, is it's your own internal perception of how strong you're being. And I think once you can break past that kind of barrier first, then everyone can feel strong in their own way every single day. And I think that's the thing that's going to be the driving factor to kind of keep going and keep moving forward.
Definitely. That was a nice way to round it up.
Oh, well, yeah, thank you so much. I mean, this has been, sorry for the cliche that's about to come, such a strong conversation, even with weak internet. I really, you know, I've adored meeting you both, and yeah, I really hope that we can catch up in person in London and keep exploring this. You know.
Yeah, we'd love that.
When you're next up in Kate, you'll have to let us know. We'll take you for a nice dinner, go for a nice walk. Hopefully it'll be in the summer when the weather's a bit better, because it was terrible weather this week. But
oh man, wasn't it? Yeah, definitely. I'll send you some dates.
Thank you.